utilize the power, strength, and intelligence of those incarcerated chiefs to the advantage of the most people. The goal is, if you can liberate the most tribes by speaking up for their indisposed leader, it gives you tribal clout among the other tribes. So every chief that fall at the hands of the enemy, the more chiefs I speak up for, the more status I gain among our people, which shows up as an algorithm, is why you were saying push the like button. Right? Because the algorithm tells them how conscious and aware we are, who we looking at for information. And they already know who he is, and they already know that I'm not going to say nothing about it until I know what I'm talking about. Like, people asking me all the time about Nasara. I say, you got to watch Dr. Kia Pruitt. She is the one responsible for that financial angle to keep us updated and informed. I got to tell you who to go to. So when I tell them, like, for instance, we was talking about earlier, not knowing the answer, I could tell them who's competent at giving them the answer. That's the same as giving them the answer.
This is true. This is true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've spoken with the governess, Miss Dean. It's on the Young Elder channel. She know what's going on with what I'm talking about. I spoke to Dr. Kia on there. She know what I'm talking about. She's seen the receipts, and she's seen a lot of this work that I've been doing. Right. I got tarot readers like Brittany Madison. I have her do tarot spread to show the people that I'm not the only one saying this. Ain't no two tarot readers gonna tell you the same thing and they can pull the exact same card spread.
It's true.
They still gonna interpret it different. So when you get 5, 6, 7 oracle readers telling you the same thing, that's a direct message from spirit. They're not gonna come up with the same answer. And sometimes most of the time they pull in a whole different set of cards from between different readers. But when the answer is consistent and they pull in different cards, that's how you know that the message is accurate.
Right.
It's just like two people listening to the words of a song. And for the first time, neither one of them is going to be able to recite the song the way it's being sung. They can only recite it how they heard it. The Tupac situation, and he's quoting Machiavelli.
Right.
Okay. Now, Machiavelli was a political philosopher who became an advisor to it's a Medici. I can't remember his name. Leonardo Medici. Leonardo Piero Medici. Right, the lion dog of the Medici family. He was the heir prince that was ascending to power when all of the political authorities was rounded up. Niccolo Machiavelli was rounded up with him. He found out which king was making the move for the throne and which one was the most likely to be successful. So he was writing him discourses, and these started off as letters. He was trying to get his attention so that his political prowess can be used and it could get him out of prison. This is what the whole Machiavelli philosophy stems from: a prisoner, political prisoner, trying to get free from prison. Now, in his writings, I think it's the one called The Art of War. He's speaking to, it's a philosophical conversation between a general who's fought his way through the ranks during wartime and a general who is just a military philosopher who went to military school and earned his ranks as a commissioned officer as opposed to being a non-commissioned officer that worked his way up. And in the course of the conversation, Niccolo Machiavelli is advising the prince that when he's in a hostile situation that can overthrow him, he can feign his death. And the reason that he gave was that by feigning one's death, your enemies can never calculate accurately because they've taken you out of the equation. So now they don't have your skill set as a determining factor in their moves, which gives you a superior position in the war. This is why in The Art of War by Sun Tzu, he say, know your terrain. Beware of who occupies the high ground, who occupies the low ground, who occupies the forest, and who occupies the open field. Know thyself, know thy enemy, and then victory is assured. So the military strategy that's being employed by the tribes under the Machiavellian feigned death is this. If we confirm that there is an order from the enemies to assassinate the chief that's coming up, move him off the game, put him in an advisory capacity, conceal his location so they can take his character out of the game. So now they're not calculating the mental prowess of Tupac, the mental prowess of Nipsey Hussle, the mental prowess of Eric E. Wright, the mental prowess of ODB. All of this manpower now is being filtered and funneled, but they not being calculated as threats to the opposing side, which makes us have a superior position on the terrain over the invader. Now, is everything is designed to confuse us because only certain people can see through the chaos. The snake, the cat, the rat, the dog. How you gonna see them when you're living in the fog? And the fog is the foggy mind of the miseducated because you're not seeing clear. If they change your orientation without you knowing it, whether you know it or not, you are disoriented. So they told us that south was down, and north was up. All the time, south has always been up, and north has always been down, which gave us a false perception of east and west. So that's the confusion given. So these chiefs,
up south and down north.
Yeah. So these chiefs that's being taken off the chessboard have been confirmed to have an assassination order because they've been killing us the whole time. Right? But none of us knew how to deal with the problem until we start studying the art of war. And by understanding that taking certain key figures off the visible chessboard mean that you can play those pieces all the way to the other side of the board until you at the other side trapped in a position that they can't escape. Right? Once you have them trapped, then you turn the lights on all of the ones that they thought was gone and find out that this was a mass convergence of tribal chiefs from different tribes working together, all of them playing a different part in order to trap the enemy on his side of the board. So it's applied strategy in the faking of the death or the extraction of the target. Right? It's the same as if you go in target practicing and you, right before you raise your gun to shoot somebody, take the target out the way. Now you looking for what happened to my target? right? So then you create the compelling spectacle in order to utilize it as the ones who can see the chaos are chaos beings. So you need a chaos being in order to tell us of chaos. Just because it's chaos don't mean it's in disorder. It just means that it's in so many directions, no regular person can see all of the potentials. Some of them were. But like I could tell you now, Pimp C ain't dead. DMX ain't dead. ODB ain't dead. Tupac ain't dead. Eazy-E ain't dead. And I can go on and on. Aaliyah and Left Eye ain't dead. Right? And they all have what's called a tail. Learning body language so you can detect when they lying. The tell for the Aaliyah situation was that walk down path around her plane crash site. The plane wasn't there long enough to walk a path of dirt. Unless they conveniently crash where they trained to put fires out on crashed airplanes, then it would make sense. But that's the possibility is so great that the probability is most unlikely that they could crash in a training site location. A red flag that I seen when I seen them reporting on Kobe was every one of the major news channels had a different live footage of a different helicopter crashing.
Wow.
That didn't make sense. I was like, wait a minute, ain't nobody seeing this but me? Another red flag in the Kobe situation is Rick Fox was originally supposed to be on the helicopter with Kobe. And they was reporting that he died in the helicopter crash with Kobe, and he on the other channel, some sports channel with Charles Barkley. Not Charles Barkley, with Shaquille O'Neal. Wait a minute, something ain't right here. It's a simple question that's going to make a whole lot of people's light turn on. First, I'm going to lead with this. A jaguar, if it's born black, is a Black Panther. Right? Go back to Gene Deal. Gene Deal, when Jaguar Wright was saying what she was saying, he was asked about her right after the Puffy incident when Cassie filed a lawsuit. Gene Deal say we looking at the conclusion of a Tupac contract. He say we already won. It just ain't been told to the public yet. Then Jaguar Wright in turn said, it's not just me, it's not just Gene Deal, it's not just Cat Williams, it's a whole lot of us out there telling the truth. But she identified two key characters. She identified Gene Deal, who's been on been disgruntled with Puffy, but he been dropping all the codes. Then you have Cat Williams. Tupac first album was called Tupacalypse. But Cat Williams' second album is called Catpocalypse. Tupac being a Panther make him a cat, mirror flips to Cat Williams. Right? So it's all of these people. What happened to all of them children of those conscious Panthers, Black Liberation Army, and other legitimate tribal groups that was fighting to overthrow this enemy? What happened to their babies? They just stopped being soldiers because the feds busted up the Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army and the Weather Underground and all these other organizations they was busting up. Well, they just stopped believing in the truth, and they stopped believing fighting for what's right. Where they babies go? right? If you ain't paying attention, you will never know that Jaguar Right is a byproduct of community that was heavily saturated with a Panther presence. Her delivery is vile and vindictive in expression to draw those attracted to the tone of gossip. Now you want some real juice, the real tea. Come on in and let Jaguar tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. Right? So she was there. She's been to the parties and seen what goes on. She didn't like it, so she cut it all loose. But now, as a member of an organic tribe of the land, whatever she learns, she has to put it in the public domain. She got to put it out there in a time-stamped and archivable format. So as she tell people and the dots start to connect, it's already recorded. You can back to this day and this time on this channel and see where she said it. Because, see, they wanted her to shut up. That's what they wanted. But she a sister from Philly. You think you gonna make a sister from Philly just shut up? And they know they right. You gonna make her double down. She gonna still tell you the same information, but she gonna be meaner than she was the last time she told you. It was a group of artists that grew up in the 70s and 80s who signed record deals to prove that these record contracts was the same as the sharecropping contract that took everything from the sharecropper. Why is that important? Because the people who were stealing the land from the sharecroppers, pretending to be their deliverance, and all the time they scourge, are the same people running the music industry in Hollywood. They the same bloodlines, the same families with the same method and the same allegiance to the same source.
Yeah, I can see that.
Using the same pattern, they caught on. When did they catch on, Dr. G? Go back to Bone Thugs and Harmony. One of the Bone Thugs and Harmony members came out and gave this speech about the 1991 meeting of the music business insiders on how to control rap music, capitalize on rap music, and to use it as a tool of destruction instead of a tool of upliftment. If you go back to 80s hip hop, you had people like Rakim, you had X Clan, Public Enemy, even NWA. They was all telling us about what was going on and the remedies and the solutions in rhyme. They was catching the conjure, is what it's called. If you go back to the early 1900s, the conjuring was rapping and tapping and spirit talking. To catch it on the other end, hip hop started off in lunchrooms with pencils on lunch tables while people are spitting rhyme. This is catching the conjure. They catching the beat of the rapping and tapping of the spiritualist movement, and the artist feeling the vibe is now reciting the rap that was put on the wire in order for them to download either who's behind the problem, the solution to the problem, or how to avoid the problem. Right? So the music industry decided they could make a whole lot of money off of hip hop. But once they took over, what started happening to rap music? People start rapping and start mumbling. And we call it mumble rap. What do that mean in the culture? In the culture, it means I'm here to do my part, but the industry won't let me say what I want to say. So you have to catch me mumbling in order to overhear what I'm trying to get across to you. So we gonna mumble rap. Now, mumble rap gave way to auto-tune. What does auto-tune mean to the priest that's reading hip-hop? It means that they've instituted artificial intelligence to steal the next wave. What comes behind auto-tune? What comes behind auto-tune is now they can put out B and Tupac with new lyrics using artificial intelligence. Which takes us back